everyone, and welcome Janice Shaw.
Thank you.
How are you, Janice?
I'm good, thank you.
Great. Janice, you are from the Jewish Family Child Service. What is your title there?
I'm a direct service manager there, which means that I supervise staff in working in different programs at the agency.
Okay. I asked Janice actually to come on the show because I feel that maybe the Israeli community or even the Jewish community really don't know everything that you do in the Jewish Family Child Service, and you do a lot of things. So help us out a little bit so we get to know you first time, and I'm sure you'll come back again. But let us know, what is it that Jewish Family Child Service do?
Jewish Family and Child has a range of programs. I believe the number is 35 different programs, and people have said that we are womb to tomb kind of services, cradle to grave services. We have early childhood kind of intervention programs all the way through the lifespan up to we have a growing hospice program, which is fantastic, that works quite closely with our chaplaincy program and Rabbi Weiss in the community. In between that, we have group programs, which is open to the community. And the important thing to know about our group programs is you don't have to be a client of the agency to access those programs. You can attend as a community member and go for the program that you want.
So like when you talk about group program, what kind of group, like what are we talking about?
We have bereavement programs.
Gotcha.
We have parenting programs.
Gotcha.
We've got parenting programs for kids living with ADHD, grief and bereavement for younger folks and a little bit older folks.
So there's a lot of support programs.
Tons and tons of support programs. We have domestic violence services. We have programs. We have social workers in different schools in York Region.
That's interesting.
In the Hebrew Day schools, we have a few social workers, as well as in some of the public schools in the south part of York Region, in the Thornhill area. So yeah, we've got a number of different programs.
Lately I've seen, we talked about poverty in the Jewish Israeli community. And I know a lot of people in our community find it hard to believe. I mean, we know it's true, but they really find it hard to believe that, you know, a Jewish person, an Israeli person, are living under the poverty level.
Yeah, it's one of those myths.
Yeah.
That there's no poor Jewish people.
Yeah.
And
we're all rich.
Right. One of the busiest programs at Jewish Family and Child is our Supplementary Financial Assistance Program. And that's money that's been donated by the community for the community to help mitigate the impact of poverty. We are undertaking a huge poverty reduction initiative to help folks with more than just the dollars and cents piece of it, to help them learn how to budget, to help them access different kinds of resources in the community and beyond, to help them empower themselves to get out of poverty. Sometimes it's situational poverty, sometimes it's chronic, sometimes it's due to a job loss or an illness. There's a variety of circumstances. It might be a short-term thing, it might be an ongoing issue, but we can certainly help out throughout that period depending on the circumstances.
That's beautiful. I'm so happy that at least there is a place where they can go if there is a problem. Can we talk about a little bit about the counseling in school? What does it involve?
Absolutely. So we have social workers that are in the schools weekly, sometimes daily, depending on the school and the arrangement and the need. And they deal with kids, parents, they can deal with them as a family. They help the teachers out, school administrative
So it's right there
staff,
in the school?
Right in the school. It's on demand. Parents know when they're going to be there, so it's an immediate kind of response and system. Schools quite like our service because we're very accommodating. We really work very hard to meet the needs of the kids at the school and their parents. And some of these kids are dealing with pretty complex issues. We've got separation and divorce. We've got, unfortunately, death of parents in the school, sudden deaths. We have sexuality and gender identity issues happening in the school. So there's
No,
a
you mean that
number
happens
of
in the Jewish community too?
yes, exactly. There's a number of different issues.
Yeah. So it's better that the actual social workers in the school rather than remove the child and and bring them to your facilities.
Well, one of the main starting principles of social work is start where the client's at. So in this case, the client's at school. So it's easier to not further disrupt their day and to help them in the context of where they are experiencing some of the difficulties, because a lot of these kids are also having social difficulties with their peers, interacting, attention problems around sitting in class. So there can be a whole team of support for these kids and families in the school setting, which is fantastic.
So if we have a family watching us now that are going through difficulty, what should they do? Should they go through the school? Should go through,
They can go through their kids' school to see if we have a social worker there. They can also call our intake office, our general intake office at JFNCS. It's 416-638-7800, and just ask to speak to intake. And they are a wealth of information, and they can tell you all about our services and help direct you to the right program or department to best meet your needs.
So while you were talking about, kids having to deal with divorce issues. And I mean, a couple needs to, deal with that as well. What kind of services do you have?
Well, one of the programs I supervise is called the Changing Family Program, and that's the separation and divorce program at Jewish Family and Child.
Okay.
So in that program, there are services from individual counseling, single session workshops, and ongoing group sessions. So, for example, we can take a family through from pre-separation all the way post a year or two. So before separation, a couple might want to attend What to Tell Your Kids When You're About to Separate. That helps parents know what, how much to say depending on the child's developmental stage. You're not going to tell a 3-year-old the same thing you're going to tell a 10-year-old, right? Of course not. So that's a very helpful thing We've got workshops around how to disengage from a high conflict divorce if you're already in the separation. We have a group program for kids and parents called One Family, Two Homes, and that helps support families and children and normalize these kids' experience, because we know kids find a lot of support in groups with other kids.
I want to talk about that program because I've heard about that program. I know many families that have gone to that program, and that is an amazing program.
Fantastic.
So I'm saying if there's any families there that are going through that, like reach out. You're not by yourself. Like really reach out. There truly is help. And you don't have to go necessarily through an abuse situation, divorce. Any divorce is hard. The best divorce is a hard divorce.
Yeah, major life change. It's hard on kids, on you. And sometimes when you separate and get divorced, there's a grieving process. It's complicated. It's costly. It's emotionally draining. It's a parenting challenge. It's a massive
And you've
change.
got that program. Okay.
Yes.
What else? Sorry, I interrupted you.
What else do we have? There's also individual counseling. And sometimes when we get calls in that program, one of the things that the coordinator can help do is help you suss out and determine where you will receive the best service. So you said, Gila, a few minutes ago, it doesn't have to be domestic violence kind of thing. One of the things that the coordinator can do in talking with you is help suss out, so is this domestic violence, or is this high conflict? Is this just a bad timing situation where emotions are elevated and it's a hard chunk of time, or is it chronic? She can help suss that out with you in terms of determining the best service.
One of the programs you mentioned is for domestic abuse.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Well,
There's a need to talk about it.
There really is a need because, you mentioned before there's a myth that there's no Jewish poor.
Of course.
There's also a myth that there's no abuse in the Jewish community.
Of course.
And I can vouch that's not so much true.
That's not true at all.
That's not true at all. At any given time, we've got a couple hundred women in our program, active clients. And I will say that we definitely service the Jewish community, but it's open to everybody, that program, because sometimes, depending where women are at, women sometimes either want service in their community or they want service in that area very far away from their community. And all communities are like that. So,
but I always say we're Jews. We open our hearts and our home for everybody.
Yes.
So we never say Jews only.
Right.
Our hearts are open. So.
Yeah. One of the biggest issues that we've been seeing in the last couple of years is women who have immigrated to Canada either under false sponsorship by an abusive partner, who leave them stranded here once they're here. But they don't have legal status in Canada. And that's a real barrier to service because any financial resources that the government, Ontario Works, Ontario Disability Support Program, et cetera,
they're not entitled to.
You need to have legal status in Canada to access that. So that's a real significant barrier. We also help support these women through the legal process with their lawyers around getting legal status, generally through humanitarian and compassionate grounds. The difficulty is that the courts don't take that to heart so much when the woman is immigrating from a democratic country like Israel, for example. And we've got a number of Israeli women clients who are in that very stuck position where it's extra hard to make that legal argument on humanitarian and compassionate grounds because Israel's a democratic country.
Yeah, and I tell you, even I know of a few cases where it's even worse, and where I know Jewish Family Child Service did help, does help, and if you're in that situation, please call you guys, because it's even worse when the wife is actually pregnant.
Yes, that is a super high risk factor.
Yeah.
Pregnancy, childbirth, and there's a whole bunch of dynamics. I won't get into it in detail here, but it certainly is a high risk point in a violent relationship. Yeah. And we define violence as anywhere on the spectrum. We're not just talking about physical violence.
Of course not. Yeah.
We're talking emotional, psychological, financial, sexual, spiritual, and religious abuse, and including financial. So we can know about what it all means up here, but every circumstance that a woman is living in is going to look a little different. How any of those dynamics play out is very specific and unique to that couple and that family and that woman.
So how if a woman comes to you when she, doesn't have immigrant, status in Canada, she's like in limbo. She's really not where she's married to a Canadian, but she's in limbo. How can you help her?
Oh, we help in any number of very creative ways. So if need be, we have one emergency apartment for women. And we partner with ACT to End Violence Against Women on that apartment. So if appropriate, sometimes that's one way we can help. We can provide programming for her kids in school. We can provide support from her. We have some designated funds that have been donated that aren't earmarked for legal status or anything else. So sometimes we can help her feed her kids. We do a lot of really creative things, and we do a lot of things. Sometimes stuff happens that's outside the parameters of normal programming. So it came to our attention, I think about a year and a half ago, that there was this young Jewish girl who had been sex trafficked, and she was from Israel. And it was Christmas Eve day, I think. It was over the Christmas holidays. And we She came to us, and within 3 days we had worked with the Israeli consulate, and we were able to get this young girl back to her family in Israel. So
wow.
We're very flexible, we're creative, we want to best meet the needs of the communities and the people that come to us. So we've got all the programs, and like I said, every circumstance is going to look a little bit differently. So the plan and how to keep her safe and her kids safe is going to look different.
Wow. You've got so many services, and you're doing such a phenomenal job for the community. I also know that, and I would like to hear more from you about other counseling service that you offer.
So we also have a general counseling program, and under that scope, which kind of intersects with our support of folks living with mental health issues, we have a specific group that 2 of our staff run with a psychiatrist specifically for folks living with anxiety and depression. We also, part of our general counseling program is we offer cognitive behavioral therapy, which can be very, very helpful.
Explain, can you talk
Cognitive behavioral therapy helps people integrate the thoughts, feelings, and physicality and their behaviors. So it's a triad.
Okay.
And sometimes people get stuck because their thoughts are stopping them. Sometimes, it's where we can intervene and helps people look at themselves, their issues, their life circumstances, their core beliefs in a different kind of way.
So it's really open for anybody?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
you don't have to have necessarily
a diagnosis or medication. You could just be... You could be struggling. Everybody has difficulties at different points in their life, and some people might just need support for a little chunk of time. Something might have happened and struck you and triggered something in you, and you're like, whoa, maybe I need to talk to somebody for a little bit about this.
No shame. There's no shame.
No shame.
No shame.
We've all been there.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's for somebody who just, needs a little bit of help.
Yeah.
What else? You said...
a lot of them, sometimes it's more issue specific. So our hospice program, for example, part of that is working with the families and relatives and children and parents of the dying person before the actual hospice piece. So it's helping support them, helping prepare, meeting their spiritual needs, should that come up. There's very, like I said,
but it's beautiful that there is such a place where...
And it's integrated into the Ontario hospice system at large and works very closely with the medical community.
I don't think there's
and with the changing demographics and population aging, it's becoming increasingly busy.
I think when it's a very hard time for anybody to go through, and to know that they've got the help there.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
I guess overall, Jewish Family and Child strives to best meet the needs of the community, and in whatever way that looks like.
So let me ask you, I'm going to go on the other side. How can the community help you guys, help Jewish Family and Child Service? Because it's one thing that you are here to give open hand and to help the Jewish community, but I am also a believer that the other side has to give as well.
So forward.
How can the Jewish community,
Israeli community? We're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for donations. When we've got Just a Second shop at York Downs in Bathurst to donate. It's a store.
Okay.
And
it's in Lawrence and Bathurst, you said?
York Downs in Bathurst. And we've also got a clothing cupboard as part of our Family Resource Center at the Promenade Mall. So you can donate gently used items, clothing. Just a Second shop, you can donate children's, men's, women's clothing, household items, anything like that. We send our clients there. They can access stuff at no cost. People can also walk in off the street, and there is a minimal cost. And Just a Second shop helps fund our camp program to send Jewish kids to camp in the summer. So it's all
this is something new to me. I didn't know that.
It's all very interrelated.
That's beautiful.
The Family Resource Center at the Promenade Mall is basically an early years center, and it is phenomenal place to be. And attached to that is a clothing cupboard. And that clothing cupboard, it has women's clothes and children's clothes. We would take men's clothes, we just don't have the space for it at the moment, but just a second certainly takes that. And they're those yellow boxes that you see.
I was just going to say,
the Jewish Family and Child. So in Thornhill, there's one in front of Associated on Atkinson.
Okay.
And then at different spots throughout the city.
That's wonderful. You know, I get so many calls, people asking me that they want to donate, you know, clothing and toys and that. And
money's also good too.
of course, money's always good. Money's always good.
Yeah.
But we didn't really, I didn't know that. And I feel terrible that I didn't know that. But
now you do.
But now we
learn.
all know that when you want to know where to donate, that's where it is. That's wonderful, Janice.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. You have to come back because we just right now we just sort of talk generally about the different program. But I think next time we'll pick up on a few programs and we'll just really talk about it and help the viewer get to know Jewish Family Child Service. Thank you so much. No, thank you for coming. Thank you for what you're doing. You're servicing the community. Thank you so much. That's the least I can do. And please, please come back next time.
Pleasure. Thanks, Gila.
And I will tell you, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.